so I guess off we go. Good afternoon, everyone. You know, I have a tradition of starting my public speeches with some fun, some warm-up. So let's spot the date. It's 13th of April. Do you know any major events that happened today? I'll give a hint. It's 1970. Okay, I will not torture you. You know, an oxygen tank explodes on Apollo 13. And this event accidentally gives the world the most versatile phrase, I think. I guess we all know it. What is it? Houston, we got a problem. Exactly. So, but the real story here isn't the problem, but the solution. So the people, they didn't give up. They solved it. They figured it out. So, and that, the kind of energy I would love to have here. Because we have, you know, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of myth about public funding. So let's not give up. Let's solve them. So who do we have here in the room and online, of course? I can spot investors. I can spot founders, also the ecosystem bodies. Very welcome. And we have people from Latvia, we have people from Estonia, and maybe potentially even from beyond. And let's give a round of applause to those who actually made it, who came here and who will benefit from the networking. And of course to those who are watching us on the other side of the screen, online. Another round of applause. It's official. Welcome to the Startup Growth Playbook. Funding, investments, and cross-border collaborations. Fun fact, the European Union invests billions every year into research, innovation, and business growth. So, and the number of programs available for different organizations is even bigger anyone can even realize. So there are structural funds, there are thematical calls, there are cross-border collaborations, there could be also some cascading funding. So basically, there is genuinely a lot one can explore and benefit from. One of the flagship programs is Horizon Europe. This is research and innovation framework with a budget of 95 billion euros. It covers everything from early research to the commercial scale-up. Under the Horizon Europe sits European Innovation Council, or the EIC, that's how we're going to call it. This is the instrument that is specifically designed for startups and SMEs with an ambition to create new markets or disrupt the existing ones. So we have grants, we have equity investments, we have business acceleration services, and that's a lot. But apparently, the EIC is not the only program that opens the door into European funding. So today you'll also hear about Euroclusters, about cascade support that could be perceived a bit faster and a bit easier way for some of the startups to take. So different instruments, different stages, and different entry points. That's exactly what we are going to uncover today. Also, a tiny housekeep. So the event is going to be held in English, as you may already observe. So the event is being filmed and photographed, so put your best smile. Also, please keep your cell phone silent, keep your eyes widely open and minds also open to perceive very useful information, at least I hope. So, and of course, I strongly encourage you to stay for the networking part afterwards, because definitely some of the best outcomes from today will form exactly during those conversations. And I guess as a final note, a quick note about me. I'm going to be your host, your moderator for today. My name is Maria Plotnece, and I'm a part of the National Contact Point team for Horizon Europe with a specialty in European Innovation Council. What practically means that I spend my days helping researchers and companies solve this European funding puzzle daily together. So before we dive in, I would love to give the floor to the person who made this space possible today. So please welcome Karīna Karu, Business and Investment Advisor at the Embassy of the Republic of Estonia in Riga. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you here at the Estonian Embassy in Riga. As you might have noticed, this building has recently been opened. We moved in just a year ago in March, as well as the Estonian Business Hub that you were having refreshments upon arrival in. This is our way of supporting incoming Estonian business here to Latvia. And of course, when talking to Startups Estonia, we're very proud of our companies, of the legacy that the startups are also leaving for the younger entrepreneurs. Since the opening of the Business Hub, we have already hosted more than 600 companies, including Latvian and Estonian partners, as well as international guests. And of course, also the reason of this is that over the past decade, Estonia and Latvia have built a strongly connected startup ecosystem. We, of course, are very proud of our digital innovation, talent, and growing support network. Yet, one question brings us all here tonight: is what else startups can sort of receive and be connected to in order to grow their businesses, to grow their innovation potential. And this is the reason. This is the reason we are here all tonight. And I want to say thank you to our partners, Maria and Karīna, for putting together such a wonderful, well-rounded program. I hope this event provides you with some clarity, with some information, and also, of course, new connections. I wish you a very happy and engaging, productive afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana, and thank you for opening the door for us. And let's move into the program. And we have a strong lineup, I would say, and I want to make the most of it. So our first speaker today is Stefāns Ouaki, head of the Department of EISMEA, the executive agency that runs European Innovation Council. 10 billion euros under Horizon Europe. Direct grants, direct equity, business acceleration services. So the EIC, I would say, is the most serious bets Europe has ever placed on a deep tech startups. And as to my knowledge, Stefan is at the real center of it. So he will walk us through what EIC actually offers, what the Latvia-Estonia funding picture looks like right now, and what's coming. Also, some words on the pre-accelerator. So, Stefan, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you for this very long introduction. And I'm very happy to be here, always happy to come to the Baltic states, in particular in Riga. And thank you for the warm welcome of the Estonian Embassy, which is the first, I hope it's not the last. And we learned your very active presence here in Riga vis-à-vis business development. So I will try to focus on the presentation of the European Innovation Council. So it's one of the programs that is helping innovative companies to grow. And we have put together indeed 10 billion euros out of Horizon Europe. I will, I don't know who moves the... will work better like this, indeed. Sorry, yeah, I went too fast. Up. Voila. So an introduction to the EIC. The EIC is a program that was launched in order to try to address the lack of global companies, in particular disruptive companies, that have emerged over the past 20 or 30 years in Europe when the tech revolution took hold across the world. Europe has been not necessarily left behind because we continue to produce a lot of research that is extremely powerful. I mean, also here in Riga, but we have difficulties to transform that research into actual global companies that can be competitors on the world stage. So the EIC has been trying to create a one-stop shop for innovators in disruptive deep tech technologies in order to provide them support from the idea all the way to the scale-up phase. And to do that largely by giving the priorities to the innovators to define the technologies they want to see supported. We have, in order to help us do that, appointed a number of program managers in some cutting-edge sectors such as AI, quantum computing, semiconductors, and so on, in order to constitute portfolio of projects. And they do what we call proactive management, meaning trying to bring together within that portfolio the technologies in try to make them work better together and try to address the gaps that we see on the European landscape. And then we have put together a complete program that you see here. So program managers are already explained. So you will see that we, as I said, support through our funding instrument the idea. So that's what the Pathfinder comes in. So here at the level of the Pathfinder, 4 million euros in grant support that is given to consortia to help ideas to get to the proof of concept. So that's basically what the Pathfinder is doing. So low TRL in order to try to achieve that. If the project is successful, it can move to the second funding instrument, which is EIC transition, where the grant level is 2.5 million. And here, the idea is to bring the project from the proof of concept all the way to the commercialization phase and try to address the different issues that are remaining. So TRL 4 to 6. And then we have introduced the accelerator where about 70% of the money goes, which is reserved for companies, SMEs, and startups, where we provide a blended finance offer of 2.5 million grant to finish the R&D cost that most of these companies continue to face, and up to 10 million in equity. We take this equity through a fund that we created in 2020 called the EIC Fund. The EIC Fund has already invested in about 320 companies in Europe and spent about 1.6 billion euros in equity in those companies. The EIC Accelerator is supposed to then start the scale-up process for the companies, de-risk them sufficiently in order for private investors to come in. And of course, we invest in equity only when we have also private investors investing with us in the round, which of course brings me to the business acceleration services, where we are trying the companies and more generally all the beneficiaries, the company that we have as beneficiaries, to address all the different obstacles they may face. So for that, we use mentor, coaches, services, and we are trying to really give them access to the different services or different service providers that they need in order to address whatever gaps they face in the development of their companies. So for example, if they are looking for particular talent, good CFOs, if they are looking at transforming an idea into a company, so venture building, and so on and so forth. But we're also taking these companies to trade fairs across the world when they can sell their product and meet, I would say, other participants and other business partners and also investors. So that's basically how the system actually works. We had two small new additions that have come in 2025 and 2026, which are EIC STEP. So STEP, given the strengths of the program, the fact that we have a very healthy portfolio now in the fund, these companies, of course, are growing, and they were needing bigger rounds of financing. And therefore, we have taken a STEP, which is equity financing from 10 to 30 million coming from us. Again, according to the same rules, so 50% of the money needs to come from private investors. We have run now STEP for a year in 2025. We have selected about 20 companies that are very promising companies for this growth stage of development. And a number of them have already concluded these rounds. And what we have added as well is the EIC pre-accelerator. I will give you the results a bit later of this program, which is designed for what we call the widening countries, so basically the countries of East Central Europe, where we have observed, I would say, more difficulties. You will see the statistics in a minute for taking advantage of the program, in particular of the EIC accelerator. And the so-called pre-accelerator has been particularly designed to address the companies coming from these countries, to give them an early opportunity to get support from us and there facilitate when they finish their implementation of their grant to be able to apply to the accelerator proper. So here the money is up to €500,000, and the first evaluation of that was just completed, and you will see the statistics in a minute. So that's basically what the EIC is proposing. If we look at what we're proposing more specifically in 2026, you have, for the different programs, the different amounts of money that are made available. So for the Pathfinder and the accelerator, the way we proceed is that we have calls that are divided between an open call, where the approach is bottom-up. In other words, the subject is being defined by the innovator itself. And we have what we call challenges, when we put the spotlight on different priorities, where we reserve money because of the importance of this priority. So this is how the money is basically allocated. So you will see here for the EIC Pathfinder about 262 million available this year, for transition 100 million, and for the accelerator 634 million, with about 250 earmarked for the priorities that I just laid out. We have also, in addition, 300 million for STEP, and we have introduced also a new instrument which is in a pilot phase, which is called the EIC Advanced Innovation Challenges, which closed at the end of February, and we are currently evaluating. And this is inspired by the so-called DARPA approach of the US. It's a kind of a two-stage instrument. We are evaluating proposal for the first stage, and the best ones will be then invited to complete a full-grown project to realize the idea that has been proposed. Now, if we Okay, so what are we looking for to apply? If we now look in particular at the accelerator, we look at a deep tech company that is putting out a disruptive technology, or so to disrupt existing market, or a company that is proposing to create a new market. What we mean by deep tech is that it has a very strong scientific underpinning, that usually it is made in science done in the lab or in the research center. That, because it is deep tech, requires more patient capital before it can actually start generating money. So therefore, this patient capital is usually quite an obstacle for private VCs to invest in those companies, because it takes quite some time before they can get a return on investment. And usually the type of technology, because it is disruptive, is rather uncertain for private investors, and it requires, I would say, the complement coming from public funding in order to de-risk the intervention that we foresee for these technologies. So now, if we look at what we have done since 2021, the beginning of the program under Horizon Europe, you can see the where the money has gone for the EIC accelerator. So without too much surprise, the big ecosystems when it comes to deep tech have been, of course, very active in taking advantage of the program. So with Germany, France, Netherlands, Spain, and so on that are coming there, Sweden, Israel, United Kingdom as well, taking advantage. As you can see, and we will focus on that in a few seconds, you see that Latvia is not doing so well with only one country, but Estonia is doing quite well with 9 companies that have been selected. If we compare that to the population of the different countries, Estonia is actually, I think, almost our best performer in relation to the other big countries, of course, of Europe. And here we can put the spotlight on Estonia. So, I mean, you have here the 9 EIC accelerator beneficiaries. And of course, it's benefiting from quite a strong ecosystem also in deep tech, with 20 deep tech deals that were signed in 2024 that generated more than 200 million of investment into those deals. They have a very high IPA intensity, and if we look at that more from the public side, you see that there has been a launch of a deep tech program with a 12.6 million euros that has been allocated to it to fast-track deep tech startups, and could target about 37 new deep tech startups in 4 years. More generally, the startup ecosystem beyond deep tech is quite powerful in Estonia, as we all know, and raised close to 300 million in 2025. So I've been there, of course, many times in Estonia. We always enjoy our time there, since we are always very effectively being introduced to many potential applicants. And we see that those applicants are very, I would say, strongly trained to apply, which explains also the quite good results that Estonia has had until now in the program. So if we take a closer look at those results, so for applying to the EIC accelerator, you have what we call 3 steps. What we call the short proposal is the first step. It is to determine whether the program is good for you or not. It's evaluated by 4 expert evaluators that then determine whether you can continue your journey in the application to the EIC accelerator. So Estonia produced 237 proposals, and they got a go out of 90% of them, which is, according to my statistics, something close to 38%, which is not bad. Normally, today, on average, the figure is around 30% success rate for the short proposal. So it's not a bad result in itself. And then if we move to what we call step 2, where here you ask if you have passed step 1 to produce a full proposal. Here we had 127 proposals coming from Estonia, which means that some of them were repeat proposals, since we have only 72 different companies there. And we had a go at 29, meaning that they were invited to the interview, which is the last stage, what we call step 3. And of course, the result of that you already know, because 9 have been selected and are beneficiaries of the EIC accelerator. So the results is not so bad, actually, that out of 29 invited to the interview, 9 of them managed to be selected. So it's a very good result. Now, if we look at the situation in Latvia, so again here, quite strong and growing deep tech ecosystem that we observe, in particular in some sectors such as AI and defense more recently, but also in life sciences. We see 150 deep tech startups with companies that are generating more turnover and developing. And more generally, this happens in the context of a startup ecosystem, which now is developing also quite nicely, since you have 3 new funds that have been launched that will be adding 60 million in available investment. And but unfortunately for the EIC accelerator, we see only one of them that has been selected, Nacotech, which I'm sure many of you know. And if we look more precisely at the same data, you see that Latvia put out in short proposal much less proposals than Estonia, 92 against 237, I think, from the previous one. A goal that is higher, so the success rate was higher, so maybe these companies were a bit more, I would say, mature in terms of getting the support that we can provide, since their success rate was 44%. And if we look at step 2, so at the level of the full proposal, only 54 of them went to the full proposal, which is about half of those that were there at the short proposal, but only 5 of them got invited to the interview, and only 1 of them made it. I mean, I used to say when I give the statistics all across Europe, because I do this type of talk about the results of how the EIC Accelerator has been working until now, quite often, I tend to say that this shows to us, at least, managing the program, that to a large extent it is the reflection of a numbers game. In other words, the more proposals being put into the system, of course, will have a huge impact on your results at the end. In other words, if there are not a lot of proposals that are applying in the first place, it's very difficult to have a lot of proposals that are being selected at the end of the day. So the only thing I can say is, of course, that deep tech startups are more than welcome to come and apply, and that eventually will drive the results further. I can also say that many proposals that are being eventually selected are applying several times. There is a limit of 3 applications at any stage. So therefore, you can reapply, and what we have observed is many successful proposals have applied not only once, but sometimes 2 times or 3 times, and they have learned, of course, from the comments that are being provided after their failure at whatever stage, and that, of course, allows them to rewrite the proposals and address the shortcomings that were shown in the comments that we provided. So I can only encourage more startups in deep tech area to come and apply, but also if they face a failure at whatever stage, to really look at the results, the comments that we have provided, address the shortcomings and reapply. And this is, I think, a key also to ensure higher success rate. And now I will turn to the pre-accelerator. As I said, we have introduced this instrument, particularly to address the difficulties that I've shown earlier in terms of the results across Europe for the countries for East Central Europe. And this is, of course, a lower TRL that we aim at. So here we are aiming at those that have in the process of completing the TRL 5 level, potential deep tech companies, and managed to secure other private investment or not. There was a first call that was launched in 2026 that was evaluated in 2025, was evaluated over the winter of 25-26 that I will show you in a minute. And here for 2027, the call will open the 5th of May. So after 5th of May next year, it will open, and it will close in November, so you have a bit of time to prepare. The budget will be doubled in comparison to what we had before, 40 million, and we will fund approximately 60 projects. So here you have the conditions that apply to it. For this, I will not go to this into all detail. I mean, you can find it on the internet relatively easily by typing EIC pre-accelerator call for 2027. The support here in comparison to the first call we run has been increased up to 1 million euro for a maximum of 2-year implementation. It's a scheme that works on a 70% coverage of the cost. In other words, 30% has to be secured by the company from other sources. And normally, once you finish, or at least it is our hope, you would be able to, if you wish, to continue the journey with us by applying to the EIC Accelerator proper. And of course, in the meantime, you will get access to all business acceleration services that I've already mentioned here. So now, if you need more information about what I just explained, you can, of course, connect to a number of general information. So we had a general information day for the calls for the year 2026, which was done last November. You can also see a particular focus on challenges, which has, I will recommend if you have a proposal that can fall within the challenges, since the success rate will be inevitably higher. And we have a number of communication channel. And then, of course, if you need more support, you can always connect to Maria, which is the one centralizing all the requests and explaining how you can actually find the necessary information and whether what we're offering is something that you can potentially make use of. Voilà, and I think I'm done for the moment.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I don't know, if you have any questions to Stefan, maybe we can take one too, actually. Anything? If not, we'll have afterwards also the Q&A. Yes, surely. But I guess we'll need to, I don't know, maybe somehow I can pass you the mic, since we have, anyways, the live stream, so it needs to be heard.
Hi, Stefan. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Krista. I apologize, but I did not really catch till the end. Do I understand correctly that during 2026 there are no open calls for applications?
No, there are accelerator, pathfinder, transition calls in 2026. The one that is not in 2026 is the pre-accelerator, only pre-accelerator. Pre-accelerator is every other year, basically. So we started for the first time in 2025, and the second time will be open in 2027.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Stefan. So what we can take from it. So programs exist, and I would pay specific attention to the pre-accelerator, and thank you for this question. We know that the budget game is strong and our both regions are on the map, but of course a special kudos to Stefan that's spotting the difference between what's available and what's actually being captured. So now let's talk about the other public funding mechanisms that some of you may not have explored yet, and could be a bit an instrument that is a bit faster to access. Potentially more targeted, but also maybe a bit underused in the regions. Karina, the floor is yours.
I will try. Yes. Do you hear me? Yes. Me and microphones, it's sometimes like love-hate relationship. Let me try to change the... Yes, okay. So basically, maybe I will introduce with myself a bit. I'm here also from EISMEA, as you can see, but I'm representing a bit different program, which is officially under DG GROW and which is called Single Market Program. More particularly, I work with Single Market Program's SME pillar, which then has initiative called Euroclusters that deals with cascading funding. And as Maria mentioned, cascading funding, I think in Latvia, at least from what I have when I speak with stakeholders, is not maybe that well known, and maybe specifically this one, but it is kind of like, let's say, a tool that helps you maybe like access EU money in smaller amounts, but without administrative burden. So basically what I want to maybe tell you first, it's about the Euroclusters itself. As you can see, this is like second generation. So we have already the first generation, and we also have some results, but I will dive into that a bit later on in the presentation. Basically, Euroclusters in itself are cross-sectoral, interdisciplinary, and trans-European strategic initiatives. of industry clusters and other economic actors teaming up to support green and digital transition, building social and economic resilience, and building also EU value chains. The second generation consists of 16 active projects that started last year on 1st October. And basically these projects have 30 million that they can give in cascading funding. And this is what I want to tell you about. And also, as Maria mentioned, usually these cascading calls are quite targeted. They deal with specific area or industrial ecosystem, industrial sector. And yes, maybe on that I will go right into. This is already what I also mentioned. Cascading calls for this means that out of 16, for all of those 16 projects, 75% of what they receive from EU needs to go into cascading calls. Usually these projects have like 2 active calls, you will see later on, and these cascading calls either address one of the main objectives. I think here we have 2 main objectives under this call, and they also kind of have different missions. For example, some cascading calls focuses on building new products or services. Others help with international missions. For example, if you as SME want to go outside of EU and maybe like build relations with Asia, Africa, and so on. So it's also that, but it's a bit smaller amount. But now I will more focus about like grants that are around 50 and 60K that help or provide support for innovation. Yes. So the first call that I want to maybe tell you a bit about, it's from Project Citadel. It will support innovative projects in security sector. The expected duration of these projects is also a bit shorter than usually the EU, which is around 3 years, but here you can see it's 9 months. And also, as I have mentioned, these projects usually have 2 cutoff dates. For this one, I will maybe take it out. For here, it's 5th May, and the second call will be open soon. And also what I maybe here want to mention that as you can see, the difference, because this is not available in other projects, here the difference is that you can apply as single project, a single SME, or you can also kind of like partner up to 2 SMEs that receive, I think I have not included here, but if I'm correct, 90K, and a single project you receive as 60K. So, yeah. And more information can be found under the link, which is for the Cluster Collaboration EU. And yes, that is this one. Then for the second one, this is a different project. This is one of the 16 projects. And as you can see, this focuses on agri-food. And here duration is a bit longer, which is 1 year. And here, basically, the focus is a bit more different in a sense that we are aiming for very particular kind of like field sector specific thing that this project addresses, as for the first one. And here, the cutoff dates, as you can see, are already announced for the 2 calls, which will be the 26th of May and 20 October. Here, maybe what I can also say, what is a bit different, is that usually in the first generation of these projects, we did not want to kind of have, it was 100% funded, but here for a lot of projects, they have put that you need to provide private financial contribution, which is usually around, let's say, 5 till 15%, which is a lot. But I think this shows from SME's point of view, and what we hope is a bit more responsibility, because sometimes it's hard to navigate how is this money spent, and if the solution, if we talk about new to firm like products or innovative like services, how it is spent. Here they kind of like incentivizes themselves and provide additional budget for executing the project. And then the last one that I want to talk about, it's quite diverse sector that they are representing. It's basically mobility and transport, and also aerospace and defense, as well as energy intrusive industries. Here the duration is the same as for the first one, which is 9 months. And here we can also see the private financial contribution, which is 10%. In the last one it was 15%. And also here we can see that it's single project. But it can be split between SMEs. So basically there can be one more SME, like more than one in that sense. And here we are talking about not only SMEs, but also technology providers and manufacturers. But the main focus is that one of those beneficiaries of this money needs to be SME. Yes, and usually this cascading funding support grants are between 50K and 60K, so no more than that. So please keep that in mind when applying. And yes, this is it from the active calls that have been published since the 1st October of last year. Later on, you will see there will be a website where you can find more calls to come and more calls to be published. They come on rolling basis. Officially, projects under this single market program are not obligated to kind of like publish them like one after one, because for us it's important to kind of like keep involved or provide cluster community, the SMEs that these clusters represent, continuous support, because there was a question for EIC when it will be published for pre-accelerator. Sadly, I can say that Euroclusters will not be published anymore. Like the project, like the big call, the cascading calls will continue, but Euroclusters will not be announced anymore until the new MFF. So something to keep in mind. And then I mentioned also that I wanted to maybe show you some FSTP or cascading call examples. And here we can see that Project Friends CCI, which works in cultural and creative industries, helped, in this sense, it is IDA, the project that came out that this cascading funding was used for, to make new-to-firm product and service in the ecosystem of culture and creativity. And here we can see like some data. I just don't want to like keep too much time on this. And they received 50K. Basically, under this project, we chose this one example, but there are 18 projects. Usually, the projects, Eurocluster projects, can you like choose up to 20 SMEs that they provide support to? Yes, and the next one, it's Gemstone. Maybe here you will find a bit of interesting connection. Officially, yes, the cascading partial, let's say, funding for this has come from cascading funding under the Euroclusters, but it has also double funding under EIC Accelerator as a beneficiary. And you can see that it has kind of like got an extra 30 million euros. So nice for them, right? And here maybe what I can say, because my aim with this presentation is not only to raise awareness about cascading calls, but also that you can see that there's like continuation between. Because yes, EIC is more deep tech and more focused on that, but with this we kind of like tackle more wider field of sectors and what counts as innovation in a sense. And yes, and you can grow from that. And here, maybe some practical information. I don't know if all of you know, this is not only for cascading calls, but also for all other calls, right, under the Commission. What we basically, Funding Tenders Portal is a place where you can find funding, EU money, which is, I think, very nice thing to look for, maybe not to apply for, but because it's super tedious and difficult. But yes, this is where you can find it. You will have kind of like step-by-step instruction. I will not go into detail here, but you can see where you can find calls for proposals. Also, there's information about the famous PIC number and what it is, identificator. But this is where you want to be, and yeah, like small instructions. I believe that maybe I'm ready to send out this presentation for the audience. So yes, this will follow up. And then maybe, as I mentioned, yes, you can find cascading calls also on the funding and tenders portal, according, like, additionally to all other EU calls that are active right now. But specifically for the Eurocluster cascading calls, more information is on the Cluster Collaboration Labs, why do I want to say labs? But collaboration website, yeah, ECCP. So yes, and there is also more information on already and possible info days for this. So yes, that's it. Do you have any questions for me? Or not?
Thank you, Karina. Very concrete, very useful. I would love everybody to take a note on these programs and to look at them this week. I guess we'll take the questions after the panel. And I'll make sure, or during the networking, because I'll make sure Karina won't run away, because we still have panel and our panelists are waiting online. So we talked public money. Let's talk private investments. Since the rules could be completely different for this game, and also the preparation required is also slightly different. So our next speaker has spent years with founders on the thing that could be, I would say, even the hardest in raising money. It's not a product, it's not a market, it's the pitch itself, that easy or not. So that's the moment when everything has to land. Ieva Sibilla Strupule is an investor pitch authority and a founder herself. And she's here today with us with 10 facts every founder in this room needs to know about raising in 2026. Ieva, I warmed up the mic for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, I want to say that we should... Oh, how does this work? I think that our organizers of the event today deserve a big round of applause for actually putting this event together. So Karina, Maria, yes, and Christine, I think you've done an excellent job on bringing attention to the European funding schemes and also private investments and institutional investments. So I just want to start by that. Thank you. Now, let's talk about private investments and institutional investments. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, do we have any founders actually here today? Just curious. Okay, quite a few. Okay, like half of you. Amazing. And have you already managed to fundraise thus far? Or in the process? In the process. Okay, fantastic. Then you're at the right place at the right time. I will try to give you some hints on how to fundraise successfully in 2026 or actually beyond. So, a few words about me. So my name is Ieva Sibilla Strupule. I'm a Latvian-born international entrepreneur. I've lived in 6 countries and hopefully not counting anymore because I'm back and I'm very happy to be back. I have one exit that happened in 2018. So yeah, since then I've built companies, scaled companies across 6 countries, all in Europe thus far. I've been also quite lucky to receive over 20 international awards, both for my business ventures and also for just basic pitching. And that's what I do right now. That's what I do right now. I help founders pitch investors in order to be successful at fundraising. So that is entirely what I focus my time, my attention, and so far I've trained definitely well over 100 teams, and collectively helped raise over 70 million euros, give or take. I've also worked with the United Nations, with the World Bank, and with Visa on different projects. I've been a jury at different global startup pitching events. And so I'm here to tell you how to be a bit more successful when you are ready to fundraise today. First, I want to start with the statistic that I think is quite impressive. And I think that we should be very proud of this statistic because Latvia's enterprise value growth has grown by 5.5x in the last 5 or 6 years. So that means that we are currently in one of the fastest growing economies in Europe. And the European mean is, I think, around 2.3x in those last 5-6 years. Estonia is still number 1 in total numbers, of course, we all know that. So that's why also you see in the statistic that the Estonian number hasn't been that impressive. The growth rate hasn't been that impressive in the last 5 years, but that is because all the main growth happened already before 2019. And now Lithuania and Latvia are at the top. So yeah, you are in a good place at a good time, and I would like to never hear the words again that it is difficult. It is difficult to build in Latvia. It is difficult to build in the Baltics. I can tell you it is not. We are very, very privileged. And I've spent, just so you know, I've spent the last 6 years in Norway, and I feel and I see that there's a lot more potential here right now. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so fact number 2. Fundraising takes a long time. It does take a very, very long time. And actually, since 2020, that time has increased significantly because the investment scene has changed, the economy has changed. So it does take approximately like a year to a year and a half. You should be prepared that this is how long it's going to take from the first email or the first conversation with an investor until you actually see the money in the bank, okay? So the process is long, it is lengthy. You cannot send out 100 emails and expect that in 2-3 months you're going to get funded, okay? It's not how it works. It's a long process, there's due diligence, there's documentation, and yeah, basically the convincing also takes time. So just know that this is typically like how long it takes in 2026. Surprise, surprise, you will hear a lot of no's, okay? And yeah, this statistic might seem a little bit out there, but I can attest that it is completely normal to send out, to speak to 100 investors, or 200, you might send out 200, 300, even more emails. It is a numbers game in a way. It is a numbers game. And rejection is a part of the process. If you're a founder, you have to grow thick skin. You have to be ready to present yourself in the best way. And you have to be ready that even when you do, you will hear no. You will hear negative feedback, okay? That's just a part of the process, so, don't be discouraged. Right now in 2026, investors are actually writing fewer but bigger checks. So essentially, there are more first-time financings this year in 2025-26 than any year since the pandemic, but fewer total deals are actually closed. So what has happened essentially, how I would explain it is that if you raised pre-seed in 2020, then right now the size of the check at pre-seed has probably doubled, at least. But that doesn't mean that you get more money easier. It means the opposite, okay? You need to show more to get any funding whatsoever, Okay, so if in 2020 we saw like checks of like 250K, somewhere around that, then right now it's 750 to 1 million in the first round. And in 2020, that used to be called a seed round or Series A. Okay, right now it's completely flipped. So you need to do more to get anything or to get like a bigger first pre-seed round. So pre-seed right now is what seed Series A looked like 5 years ago. That's the reality, okay? So, what do you need to get the investors' attention? You need traction. You need to show what you have built. You need to show proof that what you're building works. You need to show proof that there are people ready to pay for your product. Okay, so it's not enough to just make a pretty pitch deck and then expect that everyone is going to throw money at it. They won't. They will not. And even if you are pre-revenue, I understand that most of you are trying to figure out the product market fit. You're trying to figure out like how to get your product out to the market. That's the difficult part, obviously. Building is cheap and easy. With AI, I mean, we can put together a website or a platform in a few days, right? But the problem is distribution. Who needs your product? How can you prove that there are people waiting for the product to be ready if it's not ready to go out in the market, okay? Who are your pilot users? Are there any companies that are ready to write a letter of intent basically saying that once this product is ready, we will buy? Okay? All of this, like early adopters, wait lists of people waiting for your product to be ready before it's ready, that is what you absolutely must have to have any investor speak to you. That's just the reality, okay? And again, this is something that has changed this year. Maybe 5, 6 years ago, it was possible to actually raise money with just an idea. That's no longer true, okay? You need traction. You need to show something. Now, already tapped into this, distribution matters as much as the product that you have. Because if you don't distribute, if you can't find customers, if you don't find people who are willing to pay, then what's the point? Then you have a hobby. That's not a business. That's the reality. So you need to figure out how are you going to get your product, your startup, whatever it is you're building, out to the public, out to the people. Which distribution channels do you have? What can you leverage? Okay? You need to think about building an engine of sales. You need to think about building something that is repeatable so that you can convince the investors that, you know, you have it figured out. This is not like a one-time sale, but you actually have a system, an engine that works on distributing your product to your paying customers. So, yeah, the real question is not about what you're building, because if nobody cares, then it doesn't matter. The real question is how can you spread your product, your service, whatever it is, out to the customers? How can you get it in front of the customers? That's the number one thing you have to think about, okay? So investors are not investing in your present situation today, okay? Investors are always investing in the future. So that's what you need to show them. Where are you going? How are you going to grow your product? How are you going to spread from one country to another? How are you going to build a unicorn, okay? It's all about the future. It doesn't matter where you are today. You have to be able to show the big vision. That is what investors expect. They expect proof, facts, and they basically you need to convince them. You need to give them some points of reference to look credible, okay? So you need to show them how you're going to scale It's not just about having any early revenue. You need to be able to explain that that revenue is going to 10x in a couple of years, let's say. Fact number 8. This is, who here has heard about the elevator pitch? Okay, most of you. So elevator pitch is basically a few sentences, 90 seconds max, to get the investor's attention, okay? So imagine if you walk into an elevator and there is, I don't know, the big investor, the big fish that you've been trying to hunt down, like you get in an elevator with that person who potentially could invest in your product or in your idea. You have 19 seconds. You have to figure out your elevator pitch. Because once the elevator goes up to, I don't know, 7th floor and ding, an investor goes away, if you haven't left a good impression, then it doesn't matter. He will never remember you. He hears hundreds of elevator pitches every single day. Investors get a lot of emails, a lot of conversations, okay? There's thousands and thousands and thousands of other founders trying to fight for their attention. So very important, figure out your elevator pitch. What is your problem? What is the problem you're solving for whom? Why is it important to be solved? And why is your solution better than anything else that's out in the market? And why are you the best person and the best team to get it done and to make it big? Very important. Now, this is what I call being fundable, traction timing team. And more importantly, a step back, you have to understand this is what I see as this is a huge problem with the founders I work with constantly. They act as if they were selling their product to the investor. You are not selling your product to the investors. You are selling shares of your company. Very different, very different. Okay, so don't go with the sales pitch to the investors and expect that they will invest in whatever you're building because you have a fantastic product. They don't care. Investors are investing in order to see the company scale and then make money. Okay? Investors, even angel investors, it's a funny term, but angel investors are not doing charity. They're investing in a company because they believe that this company is going to return them a lot of money. So treat your investor pitch in a way that shows how your company is going to scale, how you're going to multiply your product out there in the market. Like, how are you going to get there? They need to see the traction. They need to see who is going to pay you for fixing their problem at scale. You need to be able to prove that right now is the best time to go to market, because why? Okay? Timing is very, very important. And your team. Are you really the best people who can take this to market? Are you really the right team who has the capability of building a unicorn? Why? Why is it you? Do you have some good experience? Do you have, I don't know, they call it the founder market or the founder product fit. Like, do you have excellent knowledge of the industry that you're building for? Do you have that? If you don't, then you have to think again. Sorry. So, oops. That's okay. And fact number 10. Here we go to my favorite part, the pitch. Because your pitch is your first product demo. It doesn't matter if you have your company, your product already out there in the market or not, but the pitch is what the investors see. That is what you show them. That is how you present yourself and your company. And the truth is, life is not fair. Life is not fair. The founders who are capable of raising money are not always the best builders. They're not, it's true. I see that all the time, constantly, okay? The product, you might have the best product in the market, but if you're not capable of explaining what it is and why it's needed and why it's important, A, you're probably not very good at sales, and B, it's going to be very difficult to convince any investors that what you're building matters, okay? So you have to train. Practice makes perfect. You have to train. Yeah, and you need to basically learn the fundraising skills that convince anyone. I mean, it's not just about fundraising, really, it's about sales. Like, you just need to learn how to convince people that what you have is good, that what you have is solving a problem. For investors, they have to understand that at scale, okay? So, having said that, those of you who have your phones, you can take them out right now and take a picture. This is a QR code that takes you to a free resource on my website that will help you understand where you are in your pitching game, put it that way, okay? So it's basically a scorecard that asks, you will answer some questions. It's a you basically you'll see. Just take a picture and check it out. So hopefully that helps some of you understand where you might have gaps in your pitch deck, what you need to fix, before you speak to the investors the next time. And last but not least, to those who are actually planning to raise this year or next year, I am doing a webinar, a free webinar on the 29th of April. So this is another QR code that you can scan, or you can just go to my website and and sign up. And I will go a bit more into depth, into details, and I will also have a Q&A session with everybody on an online format. So those of you interested in getting investment this year or next year, more than welcome to join. So thank you very much. That would be all from me.
Thank you so much, Eva. I guess the point about 90 seconds to earn 90 minutes of attention is going definitely to stay with me, as well as that you're not selling the shares, but not the product, but the shares is definitely something any founder needs to sit with. So let's bring it all together. We're a bit behind the schedule, so it's time for panel. So please give us 2 minutes to comfortably sit and get connected with our colleagues online, and we'll go straight into the discussion. Thank you. Set. So I would love to ask my colleagues Stefan and Rosella to join me on the stage. Yeah, round of applause. And I also got some questions online, so I'll quickly reply on them. So what was the only Latvian startup admitted to the EIC pre-accelerator? I guess the results are not official yet, so you'll know. We'll cheer together. So will the slides be available to the registered attendees? Yes, surely. And there was just thank you for the very useful presentations, Ieva. Are there any fundraising mistakes that are particularly common among Latvian startups? I guess you can address it directly to Ieva, since we are already, as I said, behind the schedule, and I have some important talks currently to have. So, all right, that's the moment I've been looking for. We have heard from the EU funding side, from cascading calls, from the investor readiness angle as well, and now we are getting into the real conversation with the people who actually lived through the process. So Stefan, still with us, bringing the EIC and EU policy view. Then we have online, Silver Tomla. Are you here with us? Can you say hi?
Hi, sveiki.
Yeah, great. We can hear you, you can hear us, and that's great.
Right,
Silver is managing partner at Invent Baltics. And as to me, with a panoramic view on what's happening across Baltic ecosystem, then with me here on stage, I have Rosella. Thank you so much for coming. From the EIC Pathfinder project Phototheraport, representing Latvian University of Organic Synthesis. And as well with us online, Dmitro. Can you say hi? Hi, Dmitro.
Hello.
Thank you for joining. Dmitro is a CSO and a co-founder of Better Medicine and Estonian EIC accelerator company beneficiary. So before we get into the discussion with the panelists, I would love to say a word on why AI is at the center today for our discussion. So we are at the genuinely unusual moment, I would say, that AI is no longer a future, it's actually the present. So it's inside our products, inside our proposals, inside our investment pitches and everything, and as well increasingly inside the tools that researchers and funders are using every day. So, but yet the honest conversation about what actually works and where it's overhyped and what it means for how we build and fund companies in Europe. I guess this talk is still catching up, and that's exactly why I want to have this discussion today. So I guess I'll start with Stefan. Stefan. So, being at the center of the EIC, overseeing how Europe identifies, funds, and also scales breakthrough innovation, you definitely have a perspective on AI and deep tech that very few people in the EU actually have. So, does the European Commission and the EIC particularly view the current, how does the European Commission and EIC view the current AI boom in relation to innovation support? It's an opportunity, it's a complication, liability, maybe both?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that AI is having a massive impact right now. I mean, particularly in the deep tech field, since it lowers market entry, makes it much easier to build a company and accelerate it. We see this, of course, at the level of what we're receiving as companies. I mean, we have a very large number of companies that claim to have an AI dimension in the business that they are putting forward. So that means that, for example, we have a lot of companies in applied AI in particular. But if we look, for example, at companies that are particularly centered on AI, we have already more than 200 million of grant and equity allocated to them. And if we look at those that are doing applied AI, it's 700 million more. So we see this in the EIC portfolio very, very strongly, this push on AI. We see also a lot of companies that may have not made AI the center of their technology, pivoting and increasing the AI content of their technology, and then, of course, claiming that they are AI companies. So this is all happening right now in real time, developing extremely fast. Nevertheless, what we also observe is that beyond the strong, I would say, traction that everything AI is having right now, we observe that many companies, among those that are already our beneficiaries, have difficulties to sell, have difficulties to generate revenue. So they may have a very good use of AI, they may have a very good technology using AI, in particular when you look at applied AI, and they may be very convincing towards the sector they are targeting, but they have difficulties to generate revenue. This may be caused by a number of factors. I mean, the main one is, I would say, the general inertia in the non-AI economy, so in normal sectors, normal verticals, to actually incorporate AI. I mean, beyond the convincing or what it can actually do, to transform your industry by using AI is not necessarily so easy to do it. And the second aspect is to transform something that is very appealing, has a lot of traction, into concrete revenue, which may not necessarily be happening also so easily. So we see all these trends happening all at once at the moment.
Thank you, but a slightly different perspective. So now we heard how it goes when AI is at the center, at the heart of the product. But when it comes to actually writing proposals, about how the proposals are written, how they're evaluated, and what does it mean for quality, for fairness, for how projects actually, which project gets funded?
Well, I mean, we have the strong suspicion, I mean, a bit more than the suspicion, we really believe that we are getting a lot more proposals these days thanks to AI. A lot more proposals are generated clearly by AI, which explains the high volume of proposals that we are getting on all the different instruments, EIC instruments that we are seeing. Proposals tend to come to us now more standardized. They hit the normal EU keywords that are, of course, necessary in the proposals for us to recognize that we are talking about EU priorities and so on. So this is very polished, very standardized. The language is very, I would say, usual, and therefore difficult to differentiate from one proposal to the next. So the proposals tend to be closer, because the narrative part tends to be shaped by AI in a very standardized manner today. But from our point of view, beyond, of course, the pressure on our resources that we experience, because evaluating 50% or 80% more proposal is not minor, from our point of view, this creates a lot of pressure. We continue, of course, to prioritize technical credibility and execution capacity, so excellence and implementation at the core of what we're doing, and not to, of course, prioritize what we believe is less important, which is the Polish narrative that may present it all. So from that point of view, we continue to ensure that we put a very high bar of excellence for selecting our proposals, despite, of course, the fact that we know how AI is affecting all that. Now, of course, one thing that we're also looking at is what we can now benefit ourselves from the use of AI in order to facilitate our job in evaluating proposals. But of course, we need to do that in a way that makes sense, in particular to avoid a situation in which AI is evaluating AI, and we get into a circle in which I think we certainly do not want to be when it comes to the allocation of EU funds.
Great. Thank you so much, Stefan, for honesty and putting it all on the shelf. So now I would love to ask Silver, you as a managing partner at Invent Baltic and someone who works with team across both Latvia and Estonia daily, let's also tackle this question, but maybe from a consultant, if I may, perspective. Do you see AI as a competitive advantage or more like a risk, maybe in new funding? So we have, I don't know, more standardized proposals, maybe some quality concerns, or that everybody is using the same tool, so all of the proposals are ChatGPT or Claude generated.
All right, hey. So I'll try to answer that. I'm not sure how good of a view I have across Baltics, but we are mostly operating, yes, in Estonia, Latvia, and Finland. And our key role is to help deep tech companies also on the EIC accelerator. Well, I think, as said, the AI will be very important in every aspect of life. But if I look at from a consultant perspective, yes, you can probably create a proposal, let's say a stage 1 EIC accelerator proposal with AI. But the problem is that it will not win. That's the point. So we are not doing that because, in this competition, which is the curse of this instrument, but also it's basically the answer is that you can get a proposal, but you will not get a winning proposal because the winning of the proposal is not about the text. It's about the company. It's about, I'm very glad that, the interview round at one point was introduced because that changed a lot in the EIC accelerator. And I really feel that you have to use AI as a valuable tool for all the background and that, and maybe, polish some of the text, but it will definitely not generate you a winning proposal. I'm very sorry that you hear that, we have also seen this as a problem, that there is a huge overload of these proposals, because from our perspective, the biggest problem with these instruments is the quality of the evaluations. The more proposals, the quality will go down. And we have really seen also, if you mention AI, we have really seen AI also in the hands of evaluators, because if you read some of the ESR reports, you can really see that it is an AI text. Probably you can also see that, as you said very nicely, that then AI will evaluate what AI has written. So in that way, but I think, if you look at the winning competition, then if you figure that, okay, let's now just start generating proposals with AI, that doesn't make any sense.
Are you using AI internally yourself, Silver? Structuring proposals, partner search, analysis, something?
No, we are using AI as a kind of a background tool to assess technologies, to understand what's out there, to understand better market, perhaps also review something. So I think if you're not using AI today, then you are falling behind. So of course we are, but we have always seen that, the text that we generate based on that input material will always be better.
And the biggest question to you, so could AI change the role of consultants in this space altogether? And do you feel threatened?
So you're asking from a consultant? Well, not yet. No, I don't think so, because I think the role of the consultant is not to generate paper or not to generate, that. So I think the role of the consultant is way wider to, winning an EIC accelerator is much more than just a good piece of paper which has a nice narrative. It's about the timing, it's about the focus, it's all about that. So I think it will help, and it will definitely change how consultancy sector is working to some extent. But if you kind of look at the EIC accelerator, then I think the biggest challenge is to find those winning ideas. If you're talking about, Estonia, Latvia, and smaller countries, that's why we mostly, operate in Finland. And Finland is also small. If we have done it for 10 plus years, you can really see that the pool of these ideas which have the perspective or capacity to win it is not so big. You don't probably need AI tools to kind of package those ideas. I think that's not the bottleneck, I think, if we look at in this region. So, yeah.
Thank you, Silver. Maybe anyone wants to add something? No? Okay, then I'll turn to Rosella. Being someone who has gone through one of the most demanding, I would say, EU funding processes, EIC Pathfinder, and built a consortium that actually works and is still working. And you sit at an interesting intersection of science, collaboration, commercialization. So how is AI actually currently used within your project? Maybe in research, maybe some data analysis, reporting, and what would your practical tip be for teams trying to do the same?
Okay, nice question. So, well, good afternoon, everybody. Let's say that AI is not really central in phototherapy because we don't sell products related to this, but of course, as it was said, we benefit from them in the, let's say, structuring or putting the ideas in a better shape, and also maybe remove the language barriers that in this cross-countries collaboration there can happen, and be sure that the idea is not understand wrong just due to the narrative that is not well presented. So basically now this is how AI is acting in the project. Now that the project is up and running and is going pretty well, I would say, I think there are partners that use AI for data analysis, not specifically the Latvian one, but I see the potentiality, of course, in remove a little bit of the burden that we as a researcher have in analyze big amount of data. So this kind of technical potentiality is what I like more, and what is connected with phototherapy instead of the actual product.
Your project has been granted some time ago, before I guess this big AI boom. So how do you think whether you would benefit more now from AI, or I don't know, if you're planning to apply for the next funding, then are you considering using AI? Do you think that who is the winner? Still the human reading context, or the AI help?
Yeah, and if I look back, it was such a long story and began.
Yeah, how it is to write projects without AI? Tell us.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it was a lot of conversation and hand notes taken to then put everything together. And the strongest part was to really put the consortium together, which is something that AI still cannot do. It's all based in a human connection, let's say, and really understand what are the potentiality in collaborating with other people and other groups. So as far as I know, this is something that still lies in the human part of the relationship. So.
Great, thank you, Rosella. Dmitro, same question, but different context. How is AI actually used currently in better medicine, both in the product and also internally? Maybe you could give us one real example of what generally works?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hello, everyone. I guess for us, it's very simple. We are an AI company, after all. So we are basically, AI is at the heart of the product. We are making intelligent tools to medical doctors, specifically radiologists. And basically by intelligent tools so far, I mean, actually we are training AI models. So we are building models, we are retraining models, etc., etc., etc. So this is how we, this is the core of what we offer, as we have basically understood that this currently was sort of lacking from the medical field, and this is how we would like to contribute. And in terms of internally, of course, we are using all the same tools as everybody else. There is nothing really special about it. We are basically structuring documents and taking notes and these sort of things, but nothing. We haven't yet made a move to agentic AI, as I know there are some companies which are doing this. I am myself associate professor of AI, so I feel that this is not yet there to fully, let's say, fire 50% of the company and just have agentic AI of making all sorts of decisions. I think that's a bit too fast, too soon. At the moment, we are using them as general tools.
Great. And the question I want actually everyone in this room to take home, Dmitro, actually, to start us off, where are the teams currently overestimating AI? So where it is already creating clear, undeniable competitive advantage, and where it's underestimated?
Well,
overestimated, I'm sorry.
No worries, I got the question. I think my disclaimer here is that I am in the medical field, right? So I know quite a lot about companies creating empty hype in that field, because I see competitors typically claiming everything, everyone, and we'll be building this and this and this, or we already have this amazing super mind that just makes everything for you. But in reality, because I am a scientist, right? I read those papers that they publish, and then I have to calm my business teams and say, no worries, guys. It seems that we still have a couple of years to go before the apocalypse. hits the wall. So I see that many companies in our field, they create and they sort of blow into this bubble. As you know, there is a AI bubble that has been blown by some companies, and I feel that we are, and by I mean these people who are working in this field, we are making and creating this disservice to ourselves by making empty promises on things that AI cannot deliver, at least not yet, right? So there is a lot of responsibility for making these claims and then living up to those claims, because later investors are not going to be that sort of willing to go into it. So we currently take this very non-bullshit type of approach, especially being a medical company. We have to live up to every single promise we make. This means clinical studies. This means rigorous testing. This means, deployments. All these things have to live up to the promises. And I see, unfortunately, many companies making up things, which is not great.
Silver, one more from me, slightly different angle. What is the Estonian formula when it comes to building strong projects and companies? I don't know whether you followed us from the very beginning, but we saw the stats and everything. So maybe you can even spot which elements could realistically be adopted in Latvia, if I may.
All right. Difficult question. I wasn't there from the beginning, but
The stats.
first of all, I think, very good differentiation is that projects are not companies. And this is something that we learned in Estonia. I remember, 10 years ago, you could really, if you take an EU project, companies were like, okay, let's get that non-dilutive money, let's get that money on board and let's see what happens. I think at one point, everybody realized that that's not the way to go. So you have to raise capital, you have to put in money, you have to put in hours, you have to build a team, and then you try to leverage it with, let's say, EU money if necessary. I think for smaller countries, you talked about capital. It's very important to have access to capital. And I think good quality VC, definitely. I think Estonia has benefited a lot with cooperation with Finland. We have very nice VCs. And if you have early founders in the room, then, money is just not money. So it's very important to engage capital, which builds further capital. So our advice at one point has been that, don't take money for the sake of the money, but try to take a more international money that will help to raise another round for you, or will help you more than just that initial check. I think also Estonia, okay, we have been very successful also with the accelerator and all the other schemes. I don't know what the formula there is, but I think in terms of funding, right now, there is definitely a need that there is a kind of a stable government funding for, let's say, applied research level from TRL 3 to 5 or something like that, which should be rather stable. And I think this has been in Estonia, and it has built a lot of companies into a prototype level, and it has helped to raise a lot of private capital, I would say. And right now, I think Estonia is moving a little bit towards like the Finnish direction, that we are talking about innovation loans. So for companies that have reached, let's say, some sort of maturity, and they are still in the valley of death in terms of sales, if you take deep tech, nothing will end when the project is done. So the sales cycles are long and all that. And real companies do favor loans, actually. And that is also something that has changed. I remember, 5 or even 10 years ago, if you would have said something like that in Estonia, that, okay, we're going to give you a loan, that, probably nobody would take it. But these days, this will be like super popular. I think, a combination of these things, and especially I want to stress that, you always have to build up the company first. With private money, with your own money, external VC is always a very good credential. And then look for an opportunity if EU funding will help to grow. Because EU funding is not alone anymore, EU funding. We talk about EIC accelerator, and we look at our client base in Finland and Sweden and Estonia and Latvia. That one of the biggest added values is actually the leverage of equity. It's not only about 2.5 million as a grant. If we go to these companies, they will say that we want this not because of that, we have that. We want that because somebody will help to leverage another 10 million for our round to de-risk it. And this is the biggest added value. And I think the Commission has done something really, really right. And this is one of the reasons probably why it's so popular. So, but I think it's a mixture of these things. So you have to have capital, good external capital, international capital, stable government funding at an early TRL level, and a little bit of luck.
Always. Thank you so much, Silver. Great insights. I hope that my colleagues from ministries and ecosystem organizations are currently actively following our conversation and take notes. Stefan, maybe you would love to also comment on the Silver statements. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Very straightforward. Thank you so much. Dmitro, maybe you wanted to also add something to the Silver's note, or
I can.
Or
say
you
that
also
as
agree with everything?
Well, first of all, I agree with everything, and also I have to say that another disclaimer is that we got our EIC accelerator because of professionality of Silver and his team, so we are, beneficiaries of here. But I can say that as an Estonian company, I can attest to many things that Silver suggested, especially this local support that has been very instrumental for at least our company to stay alive and stay innovative, even though the sales cycles are very slow, and this deep tech, med tech combination is really a wreckage sometimes.
Great. Let me catch the word of government support. So I would love to get back to Rosella and ask you about what was your instrumental support in terms of phototherapy project. So what made your project stand out? What instruments helped you? Maybe you can give us some?
Yeah, I mean, I can try to tell this story about phototherapy, which is just one of the many good proposals, I guess, are proposed every year for evaluation. So, as I said, it was a very long story. So what I can suggest people from the academic side, of course, because I'm representing the researchers here, so is to build your idea step by step and keep making it better at every round, because we heard that pitch often get a no as an answer, but also proposal often get a no as an answer. But what we have here is also an evaluation report, so we can build on that. And it was the story of post-therapy that was not even called like this at the beginning. It was a more national project that was step by step made it bigger, and then involved, of course, partners from other countries. And in every step, we will try, of course, to listen what the evaluators were telling us. And in the end, we applied once to the phototherapy, to the Pathfinder, and it was very well scored, but not funded. And it was in the next call. So I think we really get advantage of the comments that we received in the first round, which were probably what we had to address, the things that we had to address to then pass in the second phase. And basically, I mean, I would say that the idea was strong enough. Of course, we tried to balance the idea between the scientific and the final goal of the project that, of course, should match what the EIC is asking you to do. And of course, we involved a lot of stakeholders in the proposal, they are part of advisory boards that we use to make our project stronger now that we are in the implementation phase. So I think these were the steps that we did.
Thank you so much, Rosella, for sharing. I guess we need to wrap up. So as usually, I have one question that I want to ask every panelist. And this time it's going to be, what is the one thing you would never delegate to AI, and why? Any of you? Rosella, maybe you want to start?
The human relationship and how to speak with colleagues in person and not with the automatic messages, let's say, that are generated.
Great. Thank you. Silver, maybe you?
Preparation of an EIC accelerator project.
This is excellent. Dmitro, would you love to follow?
I guess making scientific discovery, or at least a groundbreaking idea that would lay in foundation of next EIC accelerator project.
Thank you, Dmitro. And Stefan, your last final words on this.
I'm not so sure if there is anything that cannot be delegated to AI in the last instance. But okay, but at this stage, I would say, yes, indeed, the decision of the evaluation, we remain firmly under human control. But like I said, I mean, AI is opening so many new possibilities. I think we don't really know the end of that story.
Great. I guess we did really nice work. So let me get back. So same year, 1970, same date, 13th of April, Apollo 13 didn't make it to the moon, as we know. And but the people in that room back then, with the right knowledge, right collaboration, and an absolute refusal to give up, they made it. They brought the crew home. And this is the story that we started with today. And I think it's also the story of actually everyone in the room and also everyone watching us live. You're not here because everything is easy. You're here because you refuse to give up and you understood that all this public funding and any type of funding is actually worth figuring it out. And the funding exists. The instruments, they also exist. We know it. And the people who can help you in those processes in acquiring any means of support, I would say, and in our setup, quite literally, they are right next to you right now. So definitely those who are with us now physically. So use the networking time wisely. And before we move to networking, a few words. Definitely events like this happen before because a lot of people believed it's worth happening. And thank you firstly to all of the speakers. Thank you to the panelists. Yeah, round of applause, of course. Thank you for expertise, for the honesty, definitely. And thank you to our partners. Thank you to the embassy for hosting us. And thank you all for being in this room and also to follow us, those following us online. Thank you so much, and let's proceed to the networking part. Thank you.